Good afternoon and welcome to World at Noon. My name is Remy Harlan. Today is Democracy Day in Nigeria. In June 2018, former President Muhammadu Buhari declared June 12 as the new date for the celebration of Nigeria's democracy. The decision was to posthumously honor MKO Abiola, the presumed winner of the June 12, 1993 presidential election. Nigerians have used this year's celebration to task the federal government on sustainable democratic and socio-economic reforms that will translate to improvement in the welfare of citizens. Still in the spirit of Democracy Day celebration, President Bola Tinubu has assured Nigerians that he would undertake the socio-economic transformation of the country impartially, promising to remain committed until Nigeria becomes a nation where no one is oppressed. In his Democracy Day broadcast, President Tinubu praised the winner of the annulled June 12, 1993 presidential election, Chief Moshood Abiola, and other heroes of democracy who made great grass sacrifices for the restoration of democracy in the country. The president urged Nigerians to beware of elements who might want to undermine the current democratic dispensation, acknowledge the economic hardships in the country, and express his commitment to supporting the citizens. President Tinubu, who did not forget to mention the roles of the media in pushing back the military to the barracks, noted that the nation could not have won the battle against military dictatorship without the irrepressible Nigerian journalists who mounted the barricades along with the pro-democracy activists. He stressed that democracy is the best form of government, regardless of how complicated it might be, and asked Nigerians to be wary of elements who may want to exploit the current economic challenges to destroy the nation's democracy. He pledged to morally and constitutionally uphold and preserve the country's democratic governance, and encouraged Nigerians to reaffirm their dedication to achieving economic democracy for the nation, which is equally significant.
I say to you here and now that as we celebrate the enshrinement of our political democracy, let us commit ourselves to the fulfillment of equally important counterpart, the realization of our economic democracy. I understand the economic difficulties we face as a nation right now. Our economy has been in desperate need of reform for decades. It has been unbalanced because it was built on the flawed foundations and over-reliance on revenue from exploitation of oil. The reforms we have initiated are intended to create a stronger, better foundation for future growth. There is no doubt that the reform has occasioned hardship. I feel your pains. Yet, there are necessary repairs required to fix the economy over the long run so that everyone has access to economic opportunity, fair pay, and compensation for its endeavor and labor. As we continue to reform the economy, I shall always listen to the people and will never turn my back on you.
Meanwhile, President Tinubu says his administration will soon submit an executive bill to the National Assembly to codify the agreements reached in the ongoing minimum wage negotiations between the organized labor, the private sector, and the state and federal governments, which have been prolonged for weeks. According to him, the bill will make the agreed terms part of the nation's law for the next 5 years or less. He noted that the federal government has negotiated in good faith and with open arms with organized labor on a new national minimum wage. Regarding the economy, Tinubu acknowledged the economic challenges facing the nation, which he said required reforms, and justified the necessity of the various reforms his administration has instituted.
We have negotiated in good faith and with open arms with organized labor on a new national minimum wage. We shall soon send our executive bill to the National Assembly to enshrine what has been agreed upon as part of our law for the next 5 years or less.
In the meantime, the All Progressives Congress APC in Ondo State has identified with the people of the state over the current economic challenges. In a statement to celebrate Democracy Day by its publicity secretary, Alex Kalejaye, the Ondo State APC assured residents of the state of the Ondo State government's commitment to sustainable measures. The charter in the statement explained that the APC government is relentlessly committed to ameliorating unfavorable economic realities, saying the current challenges will soon end to pave the way for sustainable prosperity and development. The party commended Governor Ayedatiwa's administration for the measures so far put in place to sustain the people's hope for a better tomorrow, adding that government would do more in the area of palliatives to support families, stressing that this would be sustained until the gains of economic reconstruction begin to manifest. Protesters this morning stormed the Ikeja underbridge in Lagos as the country marks the 2024 Democracy Day. There is, however, a heavy security presence as policemen and officials of the Lagos Neighborhood Safety Corps are sighted at the venue. The protesters, in their numbers, chanted solidarity songs as they wielded placards and banners. Some of the placards had inscriptions
Police give us what that
oh God, don't blow game.
Okay. Nigeria will be okay. Nigeria will be okay. Police is giving water and biscuits in this tough economy. Police is our friend. Here you see, eyewitness.
Not leaving Democracy Day story yet, the federal government declared today, June 12, 2024, as a public holiday to mark this year's Democracy Day. The Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunjojo, who made the declaration on behalf of the federal government, congratulated Nigerians on the occasion and urged them to reflect on the efforts of founding fathers to ensure that Nigeria remains a united, secured, and peaceful and indivisible entity. He urged Nigerians to remain steadfast on the tenets of democratic governance and reiterated President Bola Tinubu's commitment to positive reforms to revive the nation's economy and enhance security. The Ondo State Executive Council has taken significant steps to enhance the state's infrastructure and development. During an ESCO meeting on Tuesday, the council approved 3 major projects: the construction of a new state judicial complex, the renovation of the Akure Township Stadium, and the substantial improvements to the state's road infrastructure. The meeting was presided over by Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa. Briefing the press on the details of the meeting, Commissioner for Justice and Attorney General Kayode Ajulo emphasized the importance of the new judicial complex, describing it as a landmark project. Ajulo highlighted the government's commitment to public welfare and peace, noting that the new complex will provide a suitable and dignified environment for the administration of justice in Ondo State. Commissioner for Sports, Saka Yusuf Ogunleye, discussed the revamping of the Akure Township Stadium and pointed out the governor's focus on youth development and mental health through sports. Special advisor on infrastructure, Ayo Babalola, also provided insights into the state's road infrastructure improvements. He said a major 28-kilometer road project in the Irele local government area of the state is expected to have significant economic value as it will connect directly to an urban free trade zone and be in close proximity to the Edo State border, just 100 meters away. Babalola expressed confidence that this project will enhance the state's economic vitality, making it more robust and buoyant. The Commissioner for Lands and Housing, Akinwumi Sowore, said these initiatives reflect the Ondo State government's dedication to comprehensive development. Today is the World Day Against Child Labor. Observed on June 12, 2024, it was adopted in the year 1999. Every year on June 12, the International Labour Organization, ILO, collaborates with partners worldwide to commemorate the World Day Against Child Labor. This year, the focus is on celebrating the 25th anniversary of the ILO Convention number 182 on the worst forms of child labor. The day highlights the importance of ratifying and implementing ILO Convention number 138 on the minimum age for employment. Despite past progress, recent setbacks call for united efforts to end child labor in all forms. The United States says it will pull all its troops out of Niger within the next 4 months or so after the country's military government ordered them to leave.
This withdrawal of U.S. forces will not impact the ongoing developing relations between the United States and Niger. Both countries remain committed to establishing diplomatic dialogue to shape the future of their bilateral relations.
Malawi's Vice President Saulos Chilima was killed in a plane crash along with 9 other people on board. President Lazarus Chakwera has announced after searchers found the wreckage of the aircraft in a fog-locked forest. Tosin Adebowale reports.
His supporters hoped he'll be Malawi's next president, but the remains of Vice President Saulos Chilima have been brought. His supporters hoped he'll be Malawi's next president, but the remains of Vice President Saulos Chilima have been brought to the capital, Lilongwe, in body bags. Malawians had been waiting to find out what happened since the plane he was in went missing on Monday morning with 9 other people on board. It was found on Tuesday.
The search and rescue team has found the aircraft near a hill in the Chikangawa forest, and they have found it completely destroyed with no survivors, as all passengers on board were killed on impact.
Chilima and President Shekara haven't always had a smooth relationship since they were announced winners of elections 4 years ago. The government has been accused of corruption over procurement of military vehicles. Only Chilima faced charges in court 2 years ago, which were dropped last month with little explanation. Malawi has suffered cyclones, drought, and food shortages in recent years. Many people are frustrated with the government.
Our country is going nowhere. I don't see it progressing in any way if things are handled like this. The government needed to have moved fast to search for the plane. Even within the same hour, it got lost on the radar.
Shalima and other passengers were due to attend the funeral of a former cabinet minister in the city of Muzumu. The two-engine propeller plane turned back in bad weather before disappearing from radar. Tosin Adebowale, Osrc News.
U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has conferred with key Israeli opposition figures amidst ongoing U.S. efforts to broker a ceasefire in Gaza. Meanwhile, global leaders gathered at a humanitarian aid conference for Gaza urged both Israel and Hamas to support a U.S. Security Council-endorsed ceasefire plan as the most effective means to ease the crisis. The report.
The 25 international organizations, the biggest global conference, has been to try and coordinate a humanitarian response to the crisis in Gaza.
Excellencies, the horror must stop. It's high time for a ceasefire along with the unconditional release of hostages.
The U.S. Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, gave the clearest indication yet that Israel's Prime Minister has accepted President Joe Biden's ceasefire plan that is now backed by the United Nations.
When I met Prime Minister Netanyahu yesterday in Israel, he reaffirmed his support and his commitment to bringing this proposal across the finish line. Today, as we gather, one and only one thing stands in the way of this deal happening, and that's Hamas.
While Israel presses on with its assault on southern Gaza, the biggest complaint among delegates was not being able to get aid through land crossings controlled by Israel.
It is necessary for Israel to end the state of siege and stop using the weapon of starvation to punish the people of the Gaza Strip, and to remove all obstacles to the immediate, sustainable, and adequate access to humanitarian and relief aid to the Gaza Strip from all crossings.
Jordan's king also highlighted increased Israeli settler attacks and violations of Muslim and Christian holy sites in the occupied West Bank and East Jerusalem.
We must warn that without the action of everyone present today, West Bank tensions could escalate into a larger conflict that will leave a far more devastating impact on the region.
One of the biggest obstacles to getting aid into Gaza has been the failure to stop the fighting. The pressure has perhaps been never more intense than it is now on Israel and Hamas to agree to this UN-backed ceasefire proposal.
Caught in the middle of the conflict between the Rakhine State rebels and the Myanmar army, tens of thousands of predominantly Muslim Rohingya have recently fled northern Rakhine State. Now hiding near the Naf River bordering Bangladesh, many face forced conscription by both sides. The US and UN are deeply troubled by escalating violence in the region. In the world's largest refugee camp, Rohingya face new insecurities as rival groups vie for dominance, leading to abductions and violence. The Bangladesh government has refused more Rohingya entry, while the UN warns of an impending mass killing. The report is by Odrai Sawyer.
Caught in the middle of a conflict between Rakhine Rebel Army and the Myanmar military, tens of thousands of predominantly Muslim Rohingya have recently fled the northern Rakhine state and are now hiding in the jungle near the Naf River bordering Bangladesh. Two men recently managed to escape to Bangladesh to avoid being forcibly conscripted by both sides. Both left their families and are now worried about their safety.
In Myanmar, young and middle-aged men are forcibly taken away and recruited by Arakan army rebels and the Myanmar military. Life is getting increasingly difficult there, so I took the risk and fled to Bangladesh.
I faced many difficulties on the border. Military junta telling come with us, and Arakan army telling us come with us. I crossed the Naf River by boat.
The United States and the United Nations both say that they are deeply troubled by recent reports of escalating violence and tension between communities in Rakhine State. The allegation of forced recruitment of Rohingya by different sides in the conflict appeared to be the latest instance of exploitation of the ethnic minority community that has long complained about persecution and marginalization. More than 1 million Rohingya live in what is now the world's largest refugee camp, but they face new insecurities inside as rival Rohingya groups battle for dominance in the camp. Gang violence and fights are frequently reported. In the past 3 months, several hundred Rohingya men and teenage boys have been abducted from the refugee camps. The Junta's military is accused of sending them to Myanmar to be forced to fight.
Recently, my 15-year-old son was abducted late at night by members of a Rohingya political group. It's almost 20 days and I have no idea why and where he was taken.
The Bangladesh government says it will not allow any more Rohingya to enter its territory.
Myanmar always had internal strife, maybe more intense now. So this internal conflict should not be used as an excuse for stalling any repatriation process.
The expert text by the UN, with investigating events in Myanmar, says thousands of innocent lives will be lost if the international community fails to respond to signs of another impending mass killing of Rohingya in Rakhine State. Odunayo Sawyer, Osrc News.
United States President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, has been convicted by a jury of lying about his drug use to illegally buy a gun. A 12-member jury in federal court in Wilmington, Delaware, found him guilty on all 3 counts against him on Tuesday.
No one in this country is above the law. Everyone must be accountable for their actions, even this defendant. However, Hunter Biden should be no more accountable than any other citizen convicted of this same conduct.
And finally, on World News Day, fires have ravaged Brazil's Pantanal wetlands, with nearly a quarter destroyed in 2020. The region, extending into Bolivia and Paraguay, serves as a crucial carbon sink. Joy Pius reports.
Flames tearing through the Brazilian Pantanal, reducing vast areas of vegetable to ash. Since January, there have been more than 1,000 fire outbreaks in the states of Mato Grosso, and Mato Grosso map shows that 10 times more than last year, and the dry season has not even begun.
The Pantanal is supposed to be flooded right now. It's known as the largest tropical wetland in the world, and now it's like a desert, an inferno, fire everywhere.
The natural region, slightly larger than England, is home to hundreds of species, caimans and condors, jaguars and parrots. 4 years ago, the worst fires in history destroyed a quarter of the Pantanal's vegetation, killing 17 million animals. Experts say climate change and the natural phenomenon El Niño have contributed by causing serious droughts this year, but many fires are also man-made.
Small farmers here are used to starting fires to clear their land or to make smoke to scare away the bees and collect their honey. But these methods can no longer be used because climate change has drastically reduced the amount of rainfall. Fires can easily get out of hand.
It's not only the wildlife that is in danger. Ranchers are desperately working for means to keep their cattle safe.
We're trying to take the cattle to the other side of the bay so they have a better chance of survival. The way the fire is coming, it could surround them and burn them to death.
The smoke has also reached the historic city of Kumba, forcing local schools to shut down and drying up important waterways like the Paraguay River.
In the afternoon, you're no longer able to see the horizon, to be able to navigate and work with the boat. It's hard to breathe, it's hard for newborns. The heat gets stronger and stronger.
Firefighters have been battling the flames for weeks, but their work is only beginning. The dry season in the Pantano will continue for months to come. Joy Pius, Osrc News.
And that's World News Now. Many thanks for watching. Good afternoon and happy Democracy Day.